be afraid to open up about it. It is becoming more and more common, and the likelihood that you're going to run into someone that is also child free is much higher than you might think.
Yeah.
So I would just say don't be ashamed or be afraid of the decisions you've made, because there are many, many, many other people out there that have made those same decisions.
Yeah. I'm Kelty McGuire, and you're listening to the Kids or Child Free podcast. Hello, and welcome to the Kids or Child Free podcast. Today, we are speaking with a couple, not just about their journey to making the child-free decision, but also about their fantastic app, DINK Social. Now, I've just got to say, and as you will hear in today's episode, I am totally jazzed about what Allie and Charlie are up to, because as one half of a couple who is child-free, I know firsthand that it can be really hard, not just to make child-free connections and friends, but to find other child-free couples to spend time with. So today I'm speaking with Allie and Charlie Higgins, who met on Hinge in 2018 and who were married in 2021. Since that time, they've built a life centered around shared values, curiosity, and the freedom to choose their own path. They are proud DINKWADs with 2 dogs, Roscoe and Remy, who are truly their entire world. Alongside full-time corporate jobs, they are co-founders of DINK Social, the social app built specifically for child-free couples. Very excited to have you, Charlie and Allie, join us today from DINK Social. My introduction is, this is pitiful. You know what I'm going to do, you two? I'm just going to turn it over to you and allow you to share a little bit about yourself so we can set up this conversation better than I seem to be doing this fine Monday morning.
Sure. Well, thank you so much for having us on. Yeah, I'm Charlie, and this is my wife, Allie, and we are the founders of DINK Social. So we're currently based in Amsterdam. We've been here for about 4.5 years. But we're originally from the States. So we both met in North Carolina in 2017, started dating in 2018, and got married in 2021. So we've been married a little over 5 years now. And
kind of lived all over. Obviously met in Charlotte, had a little stint in Seattle, Washington as well. And then now over here to Amsterdam, we have 2 dogs. Big parts of our lives. We have a chocolate lab and a German Shepherd mix rescue, and they kind of rule our world a little bit. So very much DINKWADs over here.
Yeah, it's funny. I seldom use that expression, but I'm a DINKWAD as well. And they run the show, don't they? And you've got 2 of them, which I'm both envious as well as like. Does 2 dogs feel like twice as many as 1, or is it kind of like you're doing the thing anyways? May as well have 1 more.
Oh, it feels twice as many.
Yeah. But we lucked out with our first rescue dog, who was perfect. That's what happens. You have the perfect pet and you're like, okay, I'm going to get another. And then the second pet is just a wild child. And that's what happened to us. So it actually feels like we went from 1 to 5.
Yeah.
Well, and I have to admit, I'm surprised that it's the lab that's the problem child, or am I actually? Because they can be kind of cheeky, right?
They can be.
My dog is the reason I don't have 2 dogs. Bless her heart. She's lovely, but I've often thought about 2, and I'm like, she's a rescue. She's 12 now, so she's starting to mellow a little bit, but she's been a bit of a handful, and I've had many moments where I thought, oh, we should get a second, and then exit the house, and she's all of a sudden barking and lunging, or we've got a bit of a scene, and I'm like, I don't think I could do 2. I don't know how I'd handle it.
You're like, I'm okay. One and done.
Yeah, totally. I'm a one and done dog mom, at least for now. So, okay. Some parallels with having kids, by the way, I think, having the perfect first child. On that note, let's get into it. The 2 of you are child-free by choice. You have this wonderful app, which we're going to talk about today in community, called DINK Social. But I'm curious. I mean, the 2 of you mentioned you've been together for about 5 years. You've lived, it sounds like, a lot of life, had a lot of experiences. Were you on the same page when you met about not having kids, or were you both clear on that? Walk me through how that kind of came together.
Yeah, I think we were mostly on the same page when we first met. Our conversations around kids were very much like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's see. I think the way, kind of looking back, the way I see it is you were maybe a little bit more on the no kids train versus I was really just truly 50-50.
Okay.
I was like, I don't know. It could go either way. And then kind of as life progressed it just kind of slowly became 60% no, 40% yes, 70% no. So it was kind of a slow burn a little bit over the course of 5 years, give or take, whatever it was. But I know with Charlie, like when we had conversations, he was like, it could go either way. Like, I'm actually really happy not having kids, but if you wanted kids, we'll do it. Like, he's like, and he would be an amazing father. I know that 100%. But of course, both of us have our, downfalls, I'd say. But, at the end of the day, it was just kind of an open conversation over the course of many years. But there was definitely never a time, I don't think, where we just suddenly sat down and we were like, okay, 0%, we're not having kids. It just was like a slow conversation. And when we just started to look at our future, we just never saw kids in them. And I think that's just kind of the evolution of our relationship.
Yeah. I think Allie's mom knew she didn't want kids before Allie knew.
Yeah. Okay, tell me about that.
I mean, when I met Allie early on, I always remember her mom saying, or when I first met her mom, she was always like, yeah, she's not going to want to be a mom. She would always tell me that. And not in a bad way. I think it was just more so to be like, are you on the same page? Now, why? You know that better than me, but
I mean, I am very close with my parents. My mom knows me like the back of her hand, just like all of her children. And I think, both of us are the eldest of 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we both have 2 younger children.
Siblings.
Sorry. So yeah. I got
the secret's out. This week on the Kids Are Child-Free podcast, big reveals.
So, but my siblings are much younger. So I have a younger sister who's 7 years younger than me, and then a younger brother who's 12 years younger than me.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I feel like I've always had children kind of around me. Not that I was ever raising them. I think that's a differentiation that I want to make, because I do know that a lot of times eldest children feel like they raise their siblings, and then they're like,
yes.
No, I already did the mom thing. I did not raise my siblings. My mom definitely did that. But I think she probably saw like lack of patience a little bit in me. There's a lot of home videos of me being a teenager and like slamming the door in my sibling's face and being like, leave me alone. So I think she just kind of saw being around kids and like babysitting. I didn't really do a lot of babysitting, to be honest with you. Now, dog walking, pet sitting, count me in. I was doing that versus, my sister or my cousin, they were very like baby focused and like babysitting, baby. And I just was never like that. It was other things for me. It was school, it was sports, it was travel, it was dogs, it was kind of everything but. So yeah, I don't think it was necessarily that she ever thought I'd be a bad mom. Like, I don't think it was, no. But it was just, I don't think she would really enjoy it.
Yeah.
Is what she saw in me. So I lucked out that I had a mom that never put any pressure on me, or neither of my parents put any pressure on me to, as having my ultimate goal to get married or have children, to be honest with you. They were like, do whatever the heck you want to do. So that was great.
Yeah, I come from a similar family as far as like, you do you, boo. Like, like as far as what you want to do, who you want to be with. Like, it was really more the focus on like just finding your own fulfillment or happiness or path, which I think is such a gift. And, I can only empathize with people who have a huge amount of familial. And I think the social pressure is very real for all of us, whether or not we're aware of that. But it's hard enough, even if you don't have the family pressure. Would you agree? Like, I'm curious, did either of you grapple with coming to terms with this decision, or was it just that slow burn and it was acceptance? Or I'm curious, whether it concerns family, community, what have you, like, was there any part of either of you that felt like, oh, this is a tough decision, or was it just really a gradual, okay, this is our path?
I think internally for me, it wasn't a tough decision. I mean, every now and then, the doubt creeps in of, oh, well, what if? But I would say not so much anymore. I think the harder part was just always, how do I answer the question, and how are people going to judge me when I say I don't?
Okay.
I'm surrounded by all of our friends for the most part have kids, or all of our friends from the States at least.
Yeah.
And a lot of my coworkers have kids. And so, they talk about the kids all the time, and they're like, yeah, when are you having kids? You're you're not too, you're old. And I'm like, well, I'm not. So I think that's been hard. Not hard, but just a challenge. And then when Allie started the socials for DINK Social, that was a whole new world of just people coming in and calling us lesser than because we didn't want kids. That was just, it didn't change. It didn't ever waver or change my mind, but it was definitely a frustrating period for a little bit until we got maybe numb or used to it.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say for me, I wouldn't say I so much like grappled with it too much. It's also interesting because I'm 33, right?
Okay.
So I'm technically speaking still young, especially when you see so many women now are having their first kid in their late 30s, even early 40s. And so I do sometimes think like, oh my gosh, am I going to wake up at 42 and be like, I must have a kid, right? And you can't predict the future. I don't know, right? I really don't know. I don't think, and that would happen. But I think for me, it is still kind of an ongoing, like I've made my decision, but like Charlie had kind of said, doubt will creep up. And I've said this before where I don't think for me, doubt is, oh, I'm making the bad decision. For me, the doubt that creeps up, it makes me remember and realize how big of a decision it is.
Yeah.
And, sometimes it makes me sit with it for a second and be like, yeah, no, okay, I am still making the right decision for myself and for us. So yeah, I don't think there's going to be a time where I never think about it again. And especially when we are running DINK Social in this child-free community and talking about this online, as much as Charlie says, we grow numb and we let things roll off the shoulder. I mean, you can't help it when you constantly have haters online and are saying different things, and they do challenge you, right? Like they ask questions where you're like, okay, I got to think about this.
Not really.
You're like moving along.
I think about it, right? Because I also there's so many sides to this. And honestly, there's no right answer, right? There's only a right answer for you as a human. Like what's right for me is not necessarily right for the next person. So yeah, I would say wasn't a crazy easy decision by any means, but I also don't want to compare myself to some of the other folks who truly are like, do I want kids? Do I not? I wasn't that much on the fence. I was definitely more comfortable and confident in my decision, but I just want to make a call. That's not to say that I don't have these thoughts or these doubts, but it's only because I just know how big of a decision it is.
Well, and I think it is a big decision, and it's good that we're being thoughtful about it and having doubts. I really appreciate you saying that. I want to highlight it for the listeners. Having doubts does not mean you're making the wrong choice. Just like you can have doubts if you become a parent. I mean, I remember having a recent guest on. It was the episode with Emily and Jennifer from the Shrink Chicks. And Jennifer is child-free by choice. Emily has kids. And she's like, show me any parent who says they don't have moments where they regret it. She's like, bullshit. And she's very funny. She's just like, of course you have moments where you're like, what the hell have I done? Or is this the right path? Or am I equipped to be a great parent? Like, to me, that shows somebody who wants to be really intentional and deliberate with their life. And especially as a child-free person in the face of like immense pressure and questioning, it's interesting because very little shakes me, but there occasionally can be comments or commentary that, this idea of like, well, but isn't it like biologically like mammals reproduce? And I'm like, yeah, like that's one for me that I'm like, am I like an aberration? Like, why do I not have that urging or desire? And like, there are certain things that can shake my foundation of this decision as well.
Exactly. And it's those exact comments where sometimes I do think to myself, like, what, is there something wrong with me that I don't have this instinct to have my own child? But I also, for me, I mother and I nurture in other ways. Not to say that all women need to be mothering or nurturing, but I know for me, like the way I do that is through dogs. The way I do that is through building this community. That is what I'm mothering. that is what I'm nurturing. That is what I'm building and creating. And I'm happy about that. You too are fathering our dogs.
You're happy too, Charlie. That sounded funny. Are you fathering as well, Charlie? It's interesting. Do you relate to it that way as a man? Because as women, we are kind of told, yeah, we're mothering, we're nurturing. Do you have that sort of urging or the pressure to father in other ways?
Yeah, I haven't really thought about it like that. I think I have the urge to be empathetic and caring and curious and kind. And so I just think it's more so my focus is on how to treat people around me and how can I influence others in a positive way.
Yeah.
So maybe in a way, but I haven't thought about it such as fathering. It's just more about being a good human.
Yeah. Yeah.
What I think there needs to be more of these days. So
100% agree. Yeah. I sounded like the Subway Takes guy. Do you guys watch Subway Takes where it's like people have a hot take sitting with, I don't know who the comedian is that does it, but he has people sit down beside him on the subway and like people offer up this kind of hot take. And he's like, 100% agree. I'll send it to you after. If any, DM me if you know what the hell I'm talking about, folks. Let's talk a little bit about like the gender difference, if you will, in making this decision and specifically how people are responding to it. Because like, let's just use an example. Charlie, you said people do sometimes ask you, oh, do you have kids? Are you going to have kids? Like what do you say to people? And then what is the general response to you when you say no?
Yeah, I would say it's a mixed response. When I tell them, I typically just say, hey, that's just not in the cards for Allie and I. We're choosing to go down a different path.
Mm-hmm.
And then oftentimes, sometimes they'll look at me like I'm crazy. Other times they'll say, oh, okay. And then you still get the few that are like, oh yeah, you're making the right choice.
Yeah.
So I'd say it's a mixed bag. I think the people, fortunately, those that I know well are a lot more open and receptive to it, which I'm fortunate about, versus those that I don't know that you randomly meet and the question gets asked. And that's where I tend to get more of the surprised looks. I think more of the frustrating bit is when you see the comments on social media, like, oh, you're not a real man, or,
okay.
That type of stuff.
What else? What else do they say to men? Tell us, make us women feel better about all the commentary we field. What's the worst thing we can say to men about this choice?
I think, some of it I'm not going to say on here.
Please don't. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's just more so that, you're not a real man, or you're not fulfilling your wife, and you're not
leaving like a legacy.
Yeah. I have no legacy.
Yeah. Like, don't you want your bloodline to be like his bloodline to continue?
All of that.
That's so weird, right? Like that kind of almost has like a colonialism sort of like this idea of bloodline, and like it's almost like a having power over. It's so, to me, it like doesn't. Kudos, to anyone who wants legacy in that form, but like I saw a funny like skit where it was like, oh, your bloodline, like so you working at Home Depot, so you're like, no disrespect to like Home Depot or retail workers, but it's kind of like what legacy? Like, what are we talking about here? Sorry, continue.
Yeah, no, I mean, I look at it that way. I think probably the legacy one is the one that's most frustrating. It's because a legacy means I've got to bring a child into this world that had no choice whether to come in this world or not, and then end up maybe in the not best world for them and not have the best life. So I don't know. I just find that really fascinating. A legacy should be on the impacts that you make, not about the things you do in life. So yeah, it's interesting. That's probably the one that's just the most frustrating.
Okay.
Yeah. I will say though, when you look at the comments that we get on social media, a lot of them are just generalized, right? Not necessarily focused on me or Charlie.
Yeah.
But when you break it down, it's either generalized or a majority are focused on the female, me, versus the male.
Yeah. But it's coming from the men.
But a lot of times coming from the men, judging me as a child-free female, and asking me, why am I here? What's my purpose? Yeah. If I'm not bearing children, like, I can leave. And, there's a lot of comments of like, he's going to leave you if you don't give him a child. But you don't really see she's going to leave you or you not giving her a child. So it's, while Charlie's gotten some, it's definitely fewer and far between, which has been really interesting to see how society responds to a child-free man versus a child-free woman.
Yeah, I mean, this is like probably a whole other episode, but I think there are certainly are stereotypes and there's a certain amount of pressure probably across the board. But like, I know my husband, when he was on the podcast and we've talked about it, he said like episode 20 for anyone who's interested, like a lot of times other men, when they ask him, they're like, cool, man, good for you. Like, awesome. Like, it's kind of like, okay. And granted, a lot of men don't get into many things. Like you might be like, my mom just died. And it's like, cool, man. Like, too bad, like good, good for you, whatever. But like, it definitely tends, he gets a little bit of inquiry. And interestingly, we were at a funeral for a friend's dad and there was an older gentleman there, really lovely, interesting guy, but he made comment about or asked about the choice. And he kind of directed the question to Chris a little bit and was like, sort of like, what is life about? And Chris gave some pushback and sort of challenged that. But I was kind of sitting there smirking because I'm like, I'm so happy that somebody is actually like, for once, giving you trouble about this choice. I mean, nobody should obviously get flack, but it's like it's happened so seldom from what I see. And again, I mean, the two of you obviously being in like the public eye, it's crazy what people feel entitled to be able to say and share. And
it's just crazy how much people let others' decisions influence them back then. I mean, you really must be in your subconscious regretting the decisions you make to be this ugly to people you have no idea about, don't know their back, don't know what's going on in their life. Like, if family is so important to you, go focus on them. Don't focus on us. But
I always said it was so surprising how many strangers in the world feel so strongly that we should bring children into this world, Charlie and I specifically, when they don't know us. It's fascinating.
Yeah, it's bizarre. I mean, the social discourse in general and what strangers feel compelled to share and say to others, it's just like, it boggles my mind. And I try. It's very interesting to me what I see and hear from a lot of the child-free sort of creators, influencers, business owners that I talk to, because I get virtually none of that. And I think it's because I talk about the decision. Yeah. And of course I get pushback around that, like that, why, we shouldn't be making, this is not a decision to make. This is just what we do. And, and whatever else people have to say, but like, I get relatively little of it. And I think it's because I also probably happens more if I talk about and showcase my child-free life versus, it's, it makes me feel sad. So, okay, let's move on to greener pastures. Something I want to ask the two of you about is, we don't actually talk about it too much. We talk about a lot about the benefits of being child-free, of course, and they can range from like the mundane but lovely, like being able to sleep in, to, having the freedom to be able to like pursue other paths in life and make an impact in other ways. One thing we don't talk about that much is like how the benefit that not having children can have on a romantic partnership. And this is, I want to be mindful for everyone listening. This is not to imply we can't have wonderful, deep relationships if we have children. And I'm interested for the two of you, not having the contrast of having kids, of course, but like, what would you say not having kids has meant for your relationship, your romantic partnership?
Well, I would just say, I think it allows us to focus on each other a lot more. I mean, I like, even when we got Remy, our puppy, I mean, just both of our attention went to him so much early on, and we always had to be watching him. And you look back and you realize, God, I haven't really even talked to Allie all day. And the same can be said even with work. We're both doing a lot for DINK Social, and then I also have my main day job that I do, and so I can only imagine if we did have a child, I mean, we just wouldn't be able to sit and have the conversations we have, or lounge and watch the movies that we do. I mean, it just gives us the ability to have the time to ourselves, even if we're not doing anything. Just simply being together.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think, because Charlie is my best friend, right? I think I'm your best friend too, right? Of course. Yeah. And, we have so much fun together. Like all I ever want to do is hang out with him. Like I have so much fun with him. And so when I think about like our relationship and our future, and I think maybe that's why like I didn't so much see kids, because I just have such a joyful, great time with him. And when I would think about our future, it's like I'm envisioning, Charlie and I doing this, Charlie and I testing out a life in this country, Charlie and I doing this with some dogs. I see some like 4-legged creatures around us. And I love that. And Charlie's bringing up Remy, and I'm kind of laughing because that period of our relationship when Remy was a puppy was probably the hardest, like running on low sleep. And we don't really, I mean, we maybe bicker every now and then, have some disagreements, not anything crazy. But that time when Remy was a puppy was probably the most time we've like argued and not been nice to each other. And I think it was lack of sleep. I'll be honest. That's mostly, at least for myself. I'm not a very nice person if I don't get enough sleep. I know that. I'm fully self-aware of that. And that actually was kind of the, for lack of a better term, nail in the coffin for us on kind of the child question, because we saw how it affected us as humans and our relationship when we had this puppy. And we were like, we made it through, we made it to the other side, but that was not enjoyable. And if we had a child, that would be multiple years, maybe more. Also, like depending on what's going on with the kid, like we just don't know. And for us, because we didn't desperately want a child, we were like, it's just not worth it for us.
Yeah.
And so, now not having kids allows us to build more memories together, travel a bunch. We're building a business, a community together. Of course, we wouldn't be doing this if we had kids, obviously. And that's a whole other challenge in our marriage, is being co-founders, of something together.
Big kudos to you two for doing this together, by the way.
So it's just been able to open up a lot of different things in our lives that I don't think we would be able to do, if we had children.
Yeah. Okay. I want to talk about DINK Social and like what is it? How was this, what planted the seed for this? And I mean, I want to hear all the things. So just set it up first and tell us a bit about it.
Well, I guess what planted the seed for it, maybe I'll start there.
Yeah, please.
We've been in Europe for 4.5 years now. And I would say probably once every couple months for the first 2.5 years, we would have friends come. So couples friends would come. They'd either come visit us in Amsterdam or we'd go meet them somewhere. I mean, we've been to Dubai with friends and Florence, Italy, and all of this, all the great places. And then, I don't know, last summer, we were out to dinner and we just kind of looked back and realized, no one's visiting us anymore.
I wonder why.
Yeah, I wonder why. And really, it was everybody's kind of like last hurrah before they had a kid, which is, again, fine. We're very much happy for them, but it did create a void in our life. And so we were like, well, there's got to be a place that we can go find other couples. And I say couples because, again, we enjoy doing things together. Of course, every now and again, we'll go off and do our own thing. But I think what we've enjoyed so much about having the couples friends we've had is just the ability to travel with them. We both have the sets of friends that we both enjoy. And so we're like, well, there's got to be a place for couples. And there wasn't. And so I did a lot of research. Allie looked into it, couldn't find anything. And so we just said, screw it. Let's do it. Let's see if we can just build something. And so that's kind of how it started.
Yeah. That's exactly how it started. And I had said, it's actually interesting. Charlie has always been so positive. I've been like, this is going to be big. And I'm always like, I don't know. Like, let's see. Maybe people will be interested. Maybe we'll make a friend. I don't know. In the beginning. And we started posting about it on social media. And just like a few of our videos just kind of popped off. And people were like, wow, I didn't even realize that I wanted this. Or like, I had never thought of this. This is such a good idea. This is great. And that's when my mindset changed and I was like, oh, okay, all right. It's not just us looking for other like adult couple friendships. No, but it was great to see like on social media, of course, in the beginning that we weren't just solving a need for us, but we seemed to be solving a greater need of community and connection that a lot of other child-free couples were looking for. And maybe they hadn't even realized they were looking for it. And then when they started seeing our videos and they were like, oh yeah, wow, my friendships have changed a little bit.
Yeah.
Like this is super cool. I would love to be a part of this community. So yeah, it's been really cool.
Okay, as some of you may recall, we just recently kicked off a round of Confidently Child-Free, my group intensive. For those of you who are pretty sure that child-free is the path for you, but are still having doubts and want to really be able to embrace that path and go from feeling shaky to rock solid in your choice. Now, we kicked off a group just a couple weeks ago, and two things happened. One is we filled out the entire group. So alas, there were no spots left by the time we started with the 15 women who are part of the group that we have running for August. The other thing that happened is I had messages from some of you saying, Kelty, have you forgotten about us over in the other parts of the world, namely my friends in Australia and New Zealand, and even those of you who are maybe finding it tricky to coordinate your schedule with this program, but who are ultimately really keen to take part in the Confidently Child-Free Group Intensive. So what I have decided to do is to start another group on August 18th. That is next Tuesday. It might be this Tuesday, depending when you're listening. But in any case, we're going to be starting a group that's going to run for 4 weeks. That's going to be at a time that is more convenient for those of you in the Asia Pacific time zones. It's going to be happening midday in Europe. And very first thing for those of you who are perhaps early birds on the East Coast of North America, because I do know that as much as probably maybe you don't love getting up super, super early, you're going to get so much value out of joining this group and just start your day on a high note if that's something that's available to you. Again, that's probably only going to be something you'll be able to join if you are on the East Coast or somewhere like East in Canada, the States, or what have you. So if you want to join us for this, consider this your invitation to jump into the Confidently Child-Free Group Intensive that's kicking off on August 18th. I will include the details in the show notes, so you've got the link handy, or you can find it under the Work With Me tab at kidsorchildfree.com. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like, first sort of just a web platform, but now it's in the basis of an app. And how does it work? How do people get hooked into DINK Social? And by the way, I know I've told the two of you this, but I've been sharing it with a lot of my clients. I've had clients who've attended events. I've had, podcast listeners tell me that they've discovered it. And I did initially start setting up a profile, but I have to finish because Chris and I also would like to have more DINK friends. I feel it in a big way. So tell us a little bit about the tool itself.
Yeah, I think a lot has changed probably since you created a profile.
Yes.
Or started.
I don't even know if it still works. As far as my profile, because it was early days.
You did it?
The web app, yeah.
Yeah, the web app's gone.
I know.
We did start it in a web app, just again more as like a proof of concept to see, what would it look like? Would people sign up? Would people register? But really, the purpose of it is now an app in the Android and iOS stores, so it's available. Whether you use Android or Apple phone.
Yeah. And is it a free app? Sorry, it's
free.
It's free. Okay.
That's actually good. We can chat about that now. At some point, we will look to drive some type of revenue. But I think the one
I was like, what's the business model?
Yeah, the one thing we
get asked that all the time.
We do, and we have a plan. But the one thing that we definitely are committing to is that. And one thing that we want to hold true is we do not want to charge people for making friends. We don't want to charge people for making a connection. I think that's a value that we want to retain for as long as we're, doing this. And so we set out to find a way to get people away from the AI of the screens and actually just get out and make genuine connection with people that are aligning to the lifestyle that they live. And so that's the whole purpose of the app. Anybody can go sign up. Of course, you've got to verify that you're in a relationship and you're a couple and above a certain age, but it's really creating a profile for yourself, creating a couple profile, inviting your partner. And then from there, it's, you can connect with the community via forums, via what we call circles, which are just rooms where you might have certain interests that other people do, whether it be traveling or trying to figure out how to take care of aging parents. So it could be anything. And then I think the thing that's obviously the most interesting is actually it's community led. So people can go in and create an event when and where they want. They can create it for individuals. So if I just wanted to do a golf outing and have some people that like golf because Allie does it, great. If she wanted to do a ladies' night, great. But I think most of the events are really around couples. I mean, we've had 260 plus events now happen.
Wow.
January. Average, I think, around 5 to 6 couples per event. But it's been really great to see. And I think that's really the main premise is how do we take someone from exploring folks that have a similar lifestyle to them in an app, meet them in person, and then get back to the app to find more. So I don't know, did I miss anything?
No, I think you really touched upon it. I think one of the cool things that I like about the app, or that I've heard from some other folks, because making adult friendships is hard sometimes.
Yeah.
So a lot of us are introverts, right? So it's like, having to put myself out there and go and introduce myself and meet people in person. What's great is because we all have our couples profile and we have these meetups in kind of the event section of the app, you can see who has RSVP to a meetup. So you can go into the couple's profile and learn a little bit about them, see what you have in common. So you already, I know for me, I'm someone who loves to be prepared. Professional setting, personal setting, I'm like, how can I prepare myself best here? So it's like, if you want to do your research, we all love to stalk. Like, let's not pretend like we don't.
Fully love a good stalk.
Yeah. So you can kind of go, you can see the couples that are going to kind of familiarize yourself with them to maybe feel a little less anxious. And then what's also great that I personally enjoy, because we're a couples focused app and most of our events are geared towards couples up until literally last week, he launched being able to have, the meetups for individuals, is you get to go with your partner.
Yeah.
And that also helps like alleviate, because then at the end of the day, if you're anxious or it's just a little much, like you have your person there. And so you're not by yourself, because I do think that that's a little bit of a barrier to entry for a lot of these communities and trying to do these in real life events, is there's just so many people that are scared to put themselves out there.
Yeah.
And us having this couples platform, I think alleviates some of that, because then you at least have one person there that you know and you're comfortable with. And then you two together can kind of get to know other couples as well. So I say that for any of the introverts that are out there and kind of scared to put themselves out there, what's great is you could do it with your partner.
Yeah, I'll just add one other thing. I think it's also just the low barrier of entry in terms of you can create a different type of hangout. I won't use meetup because of meetup, but you can use kind of a different type of hangout, right? Where maybe Allie and I want to go to a brewery, or we're going to go to the park.
I was thinking I want to go to the brewery. I'm glad you mentioned that. Okay, keep going. That's what we want to do. We just want to go drink some craft beer with some DINK couples.
Yes, exactly. So we already have plans. Like, let's say this coming Saturday, we want to go to a brewery in Amsterdam. I can literally just select that. I want it to be a drop-in. We're going here. Whoever wants to show up, you can show up. And then people can say they want to come, or they can't make it, or there may be. And then you have the chance to actually chat with them and connect beforehand. So it kind of creates an automatic group chat based off of people that are coming. But again, you could have everything from, hey, just to drop in. You could have an actual outing. We've had people go to sport games. So it's a whole mix. Like it doesn't have to be this formal, fancy, we've got to make a reservation at a restaurant and reserve a room. Like, no, it can literally just be, hey, come hang. We're planning to be here.
Yeah. So many people have just done picnics.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we're going to go picnic in the park. Anyone wants to join? And then we've had some where I think we've had two kind of really crazy big ones, one in Charlotte and one in, I believe, Orlando.
And London.
Yeah. And a big one in London, where it just kind of was like, oh yeah, like let's go to this bar, this brewery. And then suddenly it was like 30 plus couples have RSVP'd. And it's awesome. It's super cool to see it. But I can also see how it can be like, whoa. I mean, that's 60 plus people that are coming. This is a party.
Yeah.
And sometimes that'll happen, but that just shows like how much this community is needed. And also anyone is always welcome to reach out to Charlie and I. If they're like, hey, I have questions on how to do this. I want help. Do you have suggestions? Do you have advice? Or maybe you put one together and now it's becoming big and you want us to help you. Like, we are also here to help facilitate this.
Okay, first of all, a DINK party with 60 people without kids sounds amazing. But in general, I like what you say about introverts, because I do hear this from a lot of the child-free women that I coach, men as well. But and I remember it was a good reminder for me. I remember having a woman in one of my groups. We were doing a session around how do we create child-free connections. And she was like, listen, that's okay for you, Kelty, as the extrovert. And I was like, who says I'm an extrovert? I'm like, I'm an extroverted introvert. But, but she was like, a lot of the suggestions in terms of how we meet and connect with people, it doesn't feel at all accessible or comfortable for people who are introverted. And, I also the idea of, and, I have single friends, I have friends who are coupled, of course, but specifically when I think about the weekends, for example, it's like, I'm happy to have a single friend join Chris and I, or a group of friends, but like that feels like really precious time. I shouldn't say I don't want to give it up, but like I'm seldom going to go for dinner just with a girlfriend on a Saturday night. It's like, that's our time to like go hang out with our people, whether it's, another couple, whether it's a big group of friends. And so I love the idea of just being able to like, bring in other couples, and the spontaneity piece as well is amazing, because child-free people are generally spontaneous. Like we are very much the people. We were putting some stuff away, and after camping, my husband's like, oh, we haven't used the slack line this year. And it's like, we, by the way, cannot do very well in the slack line, but it's like, let's go to the English Gardens, bring the slack line, bring some beers. I have to check out the app, and I'm planning, we're driving to Chamonix on Thursday. So I'm going to like play this in the car for Chris so we can get him all excited, because I know I'm going to be like, have you done your profile? Can we get on here together? Because this is honestly, we've thought about doing something, not when I say similar, I'm not talking about an app, but like we thought about going on that other platform Meetup and creating like, let's just create an event and saying, if you're a DINK couple who wants to go drink craft beer this coming Friday, join us. But like, I love that something's available. So I will be an ambassador for DINK Social. I think this is the best thing ever. And I'm excited to go to my first event. And I'm just so stoked for the two of you, because
thank you.
I mean, this is pretty new, but tell me a little bit about the growth. Like you mentioned, was it 260 events? Like how many cities or countries are you in? What's it looking like?
I mean, we're well over 100 cities. We're across North America, Europe, Australia, for sure. We've now got almost 3,600 couples in the app.
Wow.
And I think we started January, we had maybe 500 couples.
That's crazy.
So it's it's growing really fast. I think one of the ways that it's evolved for us, and Allie put this well, so I'll let her share it, but when we first sought out to build it, we're like, okay, well, let's make this thing where we can just make friends. But I think now that we're really in the weeds deep with just what it is like being a child-free person, there's a lot to think about that we've never even thought about. So I think you know where I'm going with this.
Yeah, because we get asked a lot, not only what's the business plan, but like what's the future of DINK Social? Mm-hmm. Like what does it kind of look like? And when I think about what I want DINK Social to mean, is I would love for it to be a household name for child-free couples, in a sense of not only a place to connect with other child-free couples, but for resources, to learn from others. Something even little like, I'm looking for a great child-free resort in X country. Does anyone know anything? Now you got some folks that could give you, options. But then also, like Charlie mentioned earlier, maybe, you're an only child and you're not having kids and your parents are aging and now you're having to deal with that all by yourself, right?
Yeah.
Has anyone else been in this situation? Do you have any suggestions? Do you have any resources for me? Like, help, right? I want to talk to someone else who's been through this. Or maybe there's a couple who are child-free by circumstance and they want to join this community and the other child-free by circumstance couples, so that, because I have heard it's a little bit different, right?
Yes,
Someone who arrived at this child-free situation, this child-free life, but not by choice, right? And so sometimes there's conversations that they want to be having that maybe I don't fully understand. I can empathize with, but I won't ever fully understand what they've gone through. So they want to, be able to chat with other couples that have been in that same situation. So I view it as, just kind of being this, I don't have a term
it's a
for
social
it yet.
hub. It's
just a social hub. That has everything that they could ever want. How is everyone thinking about FIRE, right? Financially independent, retiring early. What are folks doing? does everyone have a will here? Right?
Yeah, we're working on ours right now. And it brings up different questions for sure. Yeah.
Exactly. So a lot of things like that. And I think there's also other companies and people that are realizing that the child-free community is very under-marketed to and underrepresented. And so we want to kind of be at the forefront of helping get the child-free community what they need.
Yeah.
And doing that through DINK Social.
Okay. And I'm like, you and I want to hear more, not to like leave everyone in a cliffhanger, but like the business model piece, because I'm going where your mind's going, where I'm like, okay, there's some opportunities to connect some different services and like link in some of the other, I know we've had Jay Zigmont from Childfree Wealth and Trust on here. Like, wow. Okay, cool. Very excited. All right. So tell us, of course, the best thing that people can do. And maybe let me ask you this. If we've got couples without kids who are still on the fence, can they still join DINK social events? Or do we need to be like decidedly 100% child free? What's the sort of, how do you guys handle that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. I think that's really up for them to decide. I think what I can say is that the people that are joining DINK Social are joining it because most of them have made that decision and they are looking to build friends that are going to, last the test of time.
Sail off into the sunset being child-free and fabulous.
Right. And now that being said, if you're on the fence and you're not sure what life would be like without kids and you want to experience it, fine. We've had a few folks come in and one person in particular talked about how, we think we'll have one a year or so from now. Like if you're going to have them, probably not the space for you. But if you're on the fence, look, we have the ability. You have the ability to delete your account for a reason. And it was one of the options of why you had to leave was like, oops, we had a kid. So that's gonna happen. And I think one thing that we want to make very clear is, even though we are a child-free focused app, it doesn't mean we're anti-kid, and it doesn't mean we want to try and lead people towards this path. If this is the path for them, great, you have a home. If it's not, great, there's plenty other spaces for you. So I think that's just, a long-winded way to say they're certainly welcome. But yeah.
Well, I think that's like a fair sort of stance or mandate is like if you're really unsure, it may not be the space for you. But what I hear, and for example, I've got like my offerings around becoming confidently child-free, is a lot of people get to a point where they're pretty darn sure this is the path for them. And often the piece that's missing is that connection community piece of being like, okay, actually no part of me really wants this, but like, am I going to be the outsider for the rest of my life? And I feel like joining an event like this could be such a validation where it's like, actually the part of me that was like a little bit one foot in the other camp of maybe I'll have kids has been entirely diminished or eradicated because I can have those connections. So, but I can also see going to an event where it's like, oh, we're probably gonna have a kid in a year, being like, what? Like, okay, I'm not, I hate to say it. I've met new acquaintances where I'm like, oh, this person seems cool and maybe we'll hang out. And I actually remember meeting a woman, I don't know how I connected with her. We had a nice coffee and I thought, oh, maybe, if her and her husband would hang out with Chris and I. And then she's like, well, actually, I'm like, we're just early days pregnant. And I remember being like, coming home and saying to Chris, well, we're never going to see her again. And like, please, dear listeners, that's not to imply I'm not friends with parents. I have many parent friends. But when you're setting an intention to create relationships with people who have that similar lifestyle and value set and like perspective, and you find out, especially, let's be honest as well, like the early days of having kids, I'm 44. A lot of my friends have older children now. That feels like something different than like, oh, we're entering the trenches. I'm like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. So of course, joining DINK Social is going to be like the main thing for people who are, child-free by choice, who are like heavily like curious about wanting to join, be part of that life choice. That said, I am interested to ask, aside from the app, do you have any suggestions for people who are wanting to create child-free community, like, or couples with other, become friends with other couples, like just in their, the day-to-day life? Like, how can we create sort of an openness for cultivating these relationships we want? Or for that matter, maybe even if we attend an event, like how do we make it happen?
I think what I would say is you have to put yourself out there. You have to show up. You can't expect to make friends, build community by just staying behind your phone. You you have to show up. And I think that's something that we are also still trying to encourage and help our community do, because we definitely see a lot of kind of the same couples who put on, these in real life events. I can't say meetup.
Maybe not in your marketing materials.
Yeah, the term event feels so formal, you know?
Hangs.
Gathering.
I love that. So I think for me, it's you have to show up. You've got to put yourself out there if you want to make friends. It's always the, in order to be a part of the village, you got to be a villager, right? Like you got to put yourself out there at the end of the day. And I think that's, sometimes it's hard for people to do that, which I know we already touched upon earlier, especially for the introverts. But I would say that's probably my biggest thing. And sure, if it's like, I don't really know, I'm kind of wary, like, with DINK Social, it is nice because it is online first, right? So it's like, that's fine. Create your profile, do your stalking, right? Put yourself out there, maybe like comment on some posts, do a little introduction post. Then once you realize, okay, this is legit and there's a gathering in your city, join if you're free, of course. Like, join, test it out. If you want to hop in for 30 minutes because that's all you feel, you have capacity for, but you just want to check it out, that is totally fine. Show up as you are with what you're able to give. Test it out, dip your toe in the water. Odds are you're going to be pleasantly surprised. And then when you make those connections, it's going to pay off. It's going to be great.
Yeah. If I can add one more thing, I would also say people need to give it a bit of time too. Like, do you think it's fair that, like, let's say somebody attends one event, or, even locally there's something going on, or they're part of a child-free community for a time. I think it's easy to be like, oh, these aren't my people, like right away, right? Because you meet, let's say, two couples and you're like, well, we didn't totally gel. We love hiking in the outdoors and they like playing board games and those aren't our folks. Like to maybe like try again. I don't know if there's any truth in that.
No, there's definitely truth in that. I will say the nice thing is they can see in the app that stuff already.
True.
But I do think we've met so many people. They may be coming through Amsterdam, or we've traveled and done events that have already been in different cities and created our own events. And I think, I guess the one thing that I would say is, even if you're with a couple that doesn't necessarily vibe fully in terms of the things you like and the things they like, the fact that there's the one commonality that you already have of the lifestyle that you want to live, it really does make a big difference. And so I think, yes, give it time. It doesn't need to be anything formal, right? Like, just go and be yourself. And I think people will be pleasantly surprised. I mean, I am an extrovert when it comes to work, but I'm an introvert outside of that. I would rather just sit on the couch and do absolutely nothing. But I've never once regretted going to one of these events, and they always turn out way better than you think. And we have made, a few couples friends that we have continuously kept in touch with already.
So cool.
It actually has been fascinating because sometimes there will be couples who pass through Amsterdam and they're like, hey, we're coming through. Do you want to grab dinner? Do you want to grab drinks or something? And look at their profile. There will be nothing in common. Like, very big age gap. Like, there is not a single thing that we are matching on in our profile. We will always say yes, assuming we're free. And we'll meet up with them and we'll leave them. We're like, oh my God, they're great. Like, we have nothing in common. So when you look like on paper, and then we have the best time. Now, of course, would that happen 100%? I don't know. I can only speak for Charlie and I's experience, but that has also been super cool to see. Sometimes we're like, I don't know. Like, on paper, we're very different. Let's see if we get along. And then we just absolutely have the best time.
Yeah.
Because like Charlie said, being child-free is like the one kind of commonality that brings us together, but then we all are onions. We have all these other layers. And as you kind of chat and dissect each other and get to know, you realize, oh my gosh, I went to the same college as you, just 15-year difference. Like, that's so cool, and so forth. And you just realize that there's so many other commonalities as well that you might have. But you just got to kind of peel the onion. Like you said, give it time. Sometimes there might be a couple where you're like, that's fine. You all can do you, we will do us. And then maybe the next gathering, you meet a couple that you absolutely vibe with, or multiple couples that you vibe with.
I would just say without the app, irregardless of DINK Social,
Yeah.
like don't be afraid to open up about it. It is becoming more and more common, and the likelihood that you're going to run into someone that is also child free is much higher than you might think.
Yeah.
So I would just say don't be ashamed or be afraid of the decisions you've made, because there are many, many, many other people out there that have made those same decisions.
Yeah, I agree. You two are delightful. What a lovely couple. And we have had relatively, like so few couples on the podcast. I know this episode, I'm sure people are going to be like, have more couples. That was so awesome. Have more men. We've got lots of requests for men. So Charlie, thank you for being here as well. Allie, of course, thank you to you. I'm excited because I'm pretty sure in the very near future, I don't know when, but like that our paths are going to cross in Europe. I'm going to make sure to create my own profile. Folks will be able to find me on there. Chris will do the same, so we can be on there as that DINK couple together. And I'm just so excited for what you're building and for the community that you're creating. This is such a needed gift for so many child-free folks. So thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you for having us.
Is there any, sorry, go ahead, Charlie.
I was just saying thank you for doing what you do for the community as well. So I think it's very important to help people navigate this decision, because for some it might not be easy.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, is there anything we haven't talked about that we want to touch on still, or where can people get the app? What do they need to know? How can they follow you? Tell us all the things.
Well, I think there's one thing we can touch on, and then I'll let you do the spiel on where to find it. I think we get asked all the time, and we've even had people leave very rude comments on the App Store and stuff about like, oh, they don't allow singles, so it's not good. They should allow singles. The reason we have chosen not to open it up to singles yet is because it adds a different dynamic. And we did not want to deal with the relationship piece of it. We didn't want it to turn into a dating thing. And not to say that it would, but it certainly opens up that way. And so I think, again, the fact that we're child free by either by choice or circumstance, and you're a couple, those are two things that really enable these connections to spark more and faster, and also leave off a little bit of maybe anxiety that you might feel. So I think there are spaces coming up all the time for child-free folks. I think we still are very focused on the child-free couples. Well, so I just wanted to throw that out there. It was just, we get the question a lot, and it's not, we have nothing against single people, but we're in a different stage of our life, and I think a lot of others are also.
I say stand by that. I mean, it's a little bit, you've probably heard of this. Tell me if you haven't. I'll explain it anyways for listeners. The bean soup theory. There was an instance of someone, I'm sure it's happened many times, creator. It's like, oh, here's my recipe for bean soup. And the comments were like, well, but I don't like beans and I can't digest beans. And can we have a recipe variation without beans? And it's like, not everything is for everyone, right? Like that. I also think if there's something that you want and you want to see, like go create the sync offering. If you're single income, no kids, like similarly, like this is, I think, I know in my life we have much space and openness for all of our single friends, and this is an app for DINK couples, and so kudos for standing by that. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear you get some flack though, and thank you for speaking to that.
Yeah. Well, it's again, we want to make sure people know we don't have anything against being a sync. It's just anybody who's not in a relationship. It's just there was not an app. There was never a couple's profile yet, where you could really be a couple in an app. And we created that first, and we just want to stand by it.
Yeah. So cool. Yeah. Okay, Allie, tell us all the things.
All the things, how you can learn more about the app and the community. Of course, you can follow us on socials at DINK Social. We're on Instagram and on TikTok. You can also go to our website, which is just dinksocial.com. That has information about the community, about the app. We also have the DINK journal on there where, I don't know, maybe a couple times a month, we just publish information about child-free community or what it's like being child-free, the loneliness epidemic, creating adult friendships, whatever it might be. We have the DINK journal in there. And then we are also in the Apple Store and the Google Play. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. I'm an Apple person. I'm not a Android person, so I have to make sure I get the stores correct here. So DINK Social is also an actual downloadable app that you could download on your phone, create a couple's profile, and join the community. Check us out.
Yay. Okay, we're definitely going to do that. I'm excited. I am sure, I have no doubt that you will have some new members joining events. So I know we've got a lot of people who are child free, and we've got parents as well. Shout out to the parents. I saw the loveliest podcast review the other day, and it was like, I recommend this podcast to everyone, including parents, because it's just such a great podcast. And I was like, well, that's a nice compliment. So
it's true. It is true. There needs to be more discourse between parents and child free folks, because I do think like I don't know, there's like some riff that just kind of is we don't need that. This is not a us versus them situation. We're all in this together. How can we continue to support each other? It's okay. We have our own communities, but it's not an us versus them. That's for sure. We are just, DINK Social is a supplement. Do not just end all of your friendships with your parent friends by any means. But yeah, so I absolutely agree with you. Parents, I hope some parents are listening to this and know that we support you, and hopefully you also support your child-free friends as well.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're a parent who has child-free friends and maybe they're struggling to find those like-minded connections and they're in a couple, pass them along to, send them DINK Social. So, all right. Well, thank you two for joining me, and to everyone listening, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you know that you can not only listen to the Kids Are Child Free podcast, but you can actually also watch the Kids Are Child Free podcast by checking out the Kids Are Child Free YouTube channel? Yes, it is true. You know what? I love having these conversations with my guests, and I just feel like when we're able to immerse ourselves in the visual experience of these really important conversations, it lends just that much more. I've also been told, side note, Chris was totally teasing me the other day saying, my God, look at your expressions. He loves my very expressive face, but you can see me making all the faces, all the reactions when I talk to my guests. That in itself, I would say, is entertainment enough. No? In any case, check out the YouTube channel. Again, you'll find every episode of the Kids or Child Free podcast on there. And you can also check out a bunch of different short form videos on there, other podcasts that I've appeared on. We've got all kinds of good stuff for you, again, on the Kids Are Child Free YouTube channel, which I will link in the show notes of this episode. Make sure you subscribe when you head over there. And if there's an episode you love, leave us a little love, share some thoughts, ask some questions. I will do my very best to respond to each one of you over there on YouTube. All right, that is all from me. Thank you so much and have a beautiful day.